Hello there, and a very warm welcome to Love Audio's YouTube channel. My name is Paul Webber. Great to have you along this evening, this afternoon, this morning, or wherever in the world you are, whatever time it is, wherever you're watching it from. Do let me know in the comments, especially if you're new here. And if you've been around for a while and you join the stream regularly, make sure you make the newcomers feel extra special and very welcome. Now, what is Love Audio Production all about as a channel? Well, it's a safe, fun, friendly, and hopefully entertaining platform for you to learn the basics in audio production. So if you guys are on board with that, give us a big thumbs up and let's get going. All right then, yeah, so generally the show's about audio production. So, you know, from time to time I'll be showing you the software of choice. For me personally, it's the PreSonus Studio One version 5 Pro. And also the mixing desk that I use, which is the PreSonus Studio Live 32SC digital console. It's a 32-channel digital mixing desk, and very often we'll kind of show you overhead shots as well, looking down at the mixer, looking down at the different things that it can do, and also marrying that on the DAW side of things, the digital audio workstation, marrying that with the software as well, which is pretty cool. So generally, as I say, that is the theme of the show. Tonight, slightly different in that we're going to be talking about radio station, in particular one in Liverpool, which is called Zest. Now, I'll tell you more about that very shortly. In fact, my guest will probably tell you more about that than I can, certainly. First of all, let's say hi to Rich. Rich Vibes is in the house from Exeter. Hello to you, Rich. Good to see you on the stream this evening. Hope you're well, young man. Hope today's gone well for you. And yeah, great show on Sunday night. Rich Vibes does a show on Mixcloud every Sunday night. Make sure you check him out. It's on between 7 and 9 each and every Sunday evening on Mixcloud, and is an absolute blast of a show. It really is. And he varies the music up a lot, so he changes different genres every week. Some might be Motown. He played a lot of rock, in fact, early on Sunday night, so that was really good. And you know, sometimes it's disco, which is my favorite, disco and soul, that kind of thing. So make sure you check out Rich Vibes on Mixcloud, and he'll be sure to help you out. Sarah Steele is in the house. Sarah, hello to you. Howdy, she says. Hello to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And also hello to Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Too many la-la-las, isn't there? I know. Robert from Massachusetts. Sha-la-la-la Productions is in the house. Robert, hello to you. Very, very good to see you on the stream, and thank you so much for joining. Sammy Superstar has joined as well. Sammy is from New Jersey, so thank you very much indeed for joining us as well, Sammy. Thank you so much again. Let's have a look and see if I make sure I've not missed anybody. No, so far that's the roll call, but thank you so much for joining. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, I have a special guest on the show this evening, and this particular guest of mine and I go back, well, gosh, I can't remember. We'll talk about that very shortly. But we go back a long, long way in regards to radio. And we're trying to work out whether I've been in radio longer than he has or whether he's been in radio longer than I have. But it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the show Phil England from Zest in Liverpool. Hello, Phil. How you doing? Stay there. I'll make sure I got to unmute you. Otherwise, I'll be in real trouble, won't I? How are you doing over there?
Oh, it's great, Paul. Hey, I'm glad to be here. What an international audience! I didn't realise.
I know, and Robert says there can never be enough Lars, because I did too many sha-la-la-la-la-la-las in his sha-la-la-la production. He says there can never be enough Lars. You're right. And a Lars being a Liverpool band. You see, there's the connection.
What a
Brilliant
link.
Stuff. So, Phil, great to have you on the show. Thank you. And like I was saying before, you and I go back a long time. I worked at a radio station, and you came to present some sales techniques for us in order to create a program of sales that we went out and sold to various clients. But just give us a little bit of background about your radio experience and how long you've been in the industry.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm not sure I should admit it, but it's actually 38 years. So I tell people I'm only 38 years old. That's the way I like to play it. But I started, like many of us, in the audio business, just messing around and having fun, and was the typical sort of bedroom DJ back in those days. and sort of playing around mobile discos. It's a common story, isn't it? It's a
Yes, it
common
is.
theme that many people have followed through.
Yeah.
And I actually got offered my first proper job in radio on the same day as my second proper job in radio, because I was offered a sales job
Yep.
and a presentation role at the same station on the same day. Bizarre. How did that happen? I actually accepted them both. And 9 years later, I think I was still there, and I left to go off and concentrate on the sales side of things.
Yeah.
Sort of moved around, particularly the northwest of England, sales director roles, MD roles, launched a couple of stations, which was great fun, working with some great people, learning a lot all the time, still am for that matter.
I think we all are, aren't we, Phil, to be fair?
And then I met you. You're absolutely right. It was some time ago, and I came along to do some seminar sales programs, as we know and love them.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll agree we had fun doing that. And then a few years later was when Zest was born, really, and Zest was really it's the latest project I've been involved in. So, I'm sure you've got more questions about that, which I'd love to answer. I can talk forever. Can you tell?
Well, but it's being in radio. We love the sound of our own voice, and we're not frightened of coming forward, are we? And that's. That's a big thing that I try and talk about on the show, is that, you are talking to one person, and I think you'll agree with me that the microphone is your audience as far as radio is concerned. And very similarly, in live streaming, the camera is your one person that's watching, regardless of the fact that there's 20 or 200 or 20,000 people watching or your stream or whatever. You're just talking to the one person. And in this scenario where we're doing an interview, that person is listening to the conversation, but more importantly, they're kind of watching your body language, if it's on video, that kind of thing. So, the one person microphone, one audience microphone, if you will, that's what we try and instill in people, don't we, when we're in the broadcast industry?
Absolutely. And like you, I've worked with some really experienced people, and everyone will say that, won't they? It really is a one-on-one media. Okay, we're here this evening or this afternoon or this morning, as your intro pointed out, depending on where our viewers are.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we've got vision as well now. So how lucky are we? How lucky are we to have all this technology? Isn't it fantastic? I
know. And I thank my lucky stars that a lot of the stuff that I've learned over the years, and I have learned it, and it's kind of self-taught. I've been able to bring that to live streaming as well as doing it for radio. We'll talk about the Zest thing very shortly, but going back to the sales side of things, that's when you and I came across each other. I was working at a radio station called Radio X in Exeter.
Yeah.
And you came along and presented the presentation there, and we went out and sold it at various locations to various businesses, and they took various packages from that program. And for me, and I did this program a long time ago, a very similar program, when I was working at D106.3 in Chester, which you'll know very well as part of the groups that you've worked with over the years. And I really got a buzz out of it. I also sold it at Spirit FM in Chichester, which has now gone by the by, of course, because it's been bought out by a larger group. Having said that, the team from there have launched V2 Radio. I was the presenter at Spirit for, 3 years doing breakfast, but also took part in their sales program. And that's when I got the sales bug, Phil. Selling that program was when I got the sales bug. So I did sales for about 8-9 years after that. And so it was really interesting to kind of, get a grip of that as well as doing the programming side of things. And yeah, I've found that very useful. You must be the same. So you find that being behind the mic is useful in a sales environment because you can talk the language of the presenter and how that's going to come across, and also from a point of view of your advertising and your client.
I couldn't agree more, Paul. I mean, you'll remember from those days at Radio X when we ran that sales program, we had the managing director of the station doing the intro, and then he was handing over to me, and I was doing kind of the bulk of the presentation. And I hope it came across when you were there with me working on that program. I really enjoy doing that sort of thing,
Yes.
and it is the presenter in me. At the end of the day, whether I'm presenting a sales program or whether I'm talking on the radio or being interviewed like this, the presenter in me comes out. I can't help it. It's not an ego thing.
No.
It's just, I guess, there's sort of a level of showmanship that's you just can't squash it down.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's kind of that buzz that people get if they present on stage, for instance. The butterflies must be going crazy just before they're
Oh,
about
I
to
couldn't
step
do
out.
that. I couldn't do that. Not in terms of acting serious scenes or comedy. Gosh, even worse. I couldn't
Well,
do that.
I was thinking more of, maybe you're walking onto a stage where you're doing a presentation in front of, a couple of thousand people or whatever, a couple of hundred people perhaps in an auditorium. It's kind of like that where they get the buzz. They get nervous, of course, and if you don't get nervous, they say you might as well give up because that's the end of it. But
Well, on those sales programs, I used to present anything from literally a couple of people
mm,
up to hundreds sometimes. You never really knew. There was no real pattern
mhm,
to how many people were going to show up. We used to have 5 presentation sessions every day for a
every day
full
for a
week.
week, yeah, for
So,
sure.
we used to bring people in and we used to have a cup of coffee and a nice chat and then do the presentation and then they'd leave and the next lot would come in. And,
Yeah.
the variance was huge. You never really knew what to expect. So for that reason, I think, I'll be honest, even doing that for so many years, I was as nervous before presentation number 1
Yeah.
and I was the same presentation number 15,001. Really, it doesn't go away. But once
No.
you get into it, and the adrenaline starts to flow, and you have a great time, and that was the enjoyable thing about doing that.
And I think that's the magic of it as well, is because that kind of presentation to an audience that you hope will buy the product is still very much a showmanship thing, and we should never take that away from presenting an opportunity. And that's exactly what it was, Phil, wasn't it? You were presenting an opportunity to a
Yeah.
company that could invest in that program and could reap the rewards of that and make profit out of their advertising with that station.
Yeah, well, when I was doing that, and it wasn't just me, there were other consultants and other companies offering similar services to media companies. But one of the criticisms was always, well, it's hard sell. We don't want to be hard sell. Actually, I don't believe it was hard sell.
No.
It was persuasive, but it was persuasive because we were offering such a fantastic opportunity
Mm.
at a super affordable rate with a bucket load of assistance for busy people who might be great at running, I don't know, a car dealership, a garden center, or whatever,
Mhm.
but by their own admission didn't really understand how to necessarily market that business in the proper manner. So, often they were grateful for the advice we were able to give, and
Mm.
and frankly, I didn't mind too much if they didn't buy anything, so long as they came along and enjoyed the presentation.
Well,
That was enough, really.
I think obviously from a salesperson's point of view, the incentive there is to sell as many as you can because that will then put some figures on your bottom line and therefore help you get to the next month's target. And it's all about targets at the end of the day. But you're right in that we were offering an opportunity for that company to come on board and advertise with the radio station, but at a very discounted price. And therefore, the kind of hard sell thing I think you were referring to is the fact that we crammed it into 5 days and we were expecting a decision at the end of either that day or that session or the end of that week, and I think that's where people find that pressure. But that's because you were only around for a short period of time to be able to close
Yeah.
that and to help us close it. That's the thing.
Yeah, and things move on quickly. We still do it today. I mean, just recently, I've been doing some events for Zest.
Hmm.
But of course, with everything going on in the world at the moment, and I have to say, because it's more convenient, we've been doing those online. So they've been virtual sessions, if you like. Not so, I won't call them webinars, they've just been more sort of informative short sessions, and then you book a one-to-one
Yeah.
to have a chat later, depending on what your requirements are.
Cool.
But there we are. That's kind of an insight onto me as far as sales is concerned. These days,
let's. I was
I'm
going to say
kind of a
let's
different animal.
let's talk about Zest, because that's important, because you and I have only just kind of touched base recently with regards to Zest, and
Yeah.
we'll just let the audience know that I did a week last week filling in for a guy that was on holiday, but things have slightly changed. So before we talk about that, just go back to the beginning of Zest. How did it form? How did your involvement with that and the DAB platform come up at that time? How did you get involved?
Well, I was lucky enough to work for one of the major groups for many, many years. And whilst I was working for that group, they happened to own a radio station in Liverpool, which was called Juice FM.
Mm.
And Juice was a great station. It kind of came from nowhere and actually became really, really successful, and actually gave some of the bigger heritage names in the city at the time a run for the money, I think it's fair to say. Juice actually disappeared and was acquired by one of the larger groups, as happens and as has happened many times right across the country. And of course, no doubt it's the same in other territories as well.
Yeah.
And there was really an opportunity that was kind of shouting at me to go back to the city of Liverpool, which I loved because I'd often visited Juice in the city, and to not recreate Juice, because I think that would be a mistake. You know, it would almost be like trying to recreate the Beatles. You don't even try. But we created a station that was for Liverpool, and there were a lot of local voices featured on that radio station, and there always will be as long as I've got anything to do with it.
Sure.
We play music, top 40 music, pop music. We are sometimes, I think, perceived as a dance station, and that's probably going back to our earlier days when we were a little heavier on the dance genre. But now we're very much mainstream. It's a commercial sound, with the exception perhaps of Friday and Saturday night, when we do have our weekend guys with Liverpool's Dance Weekend, which proves to be continually extremely popular.
That's good. And you know, it's come on leaps and bounds, I think it's fair to say. And with regards to the format, I love the new music. I mean, obviously my favorite era is the 70s and 80s, but there are stations that cater for that, and I agree with that. It's absolutely fine. However, what I do like about it is the fact that, you know, as well as the current dance tunes that you playlist, you've also got in there some really, really good retro songs, and I've been playing some of those last week and also this week, today, of course. Where do you get the inspiration to kind of pick those out of the many thousands that you could pick from? Because they are really good.
Do you know what, Paul? I don't need to tell you how difficult that is, because there are so many songs that we would love to be playing.
Yeah.
And of course, you cannot play everything, nor should you. But it's funny because you asked that question today, and let's give Dan Roach a shout. He's our head of music, and he was talking to me about some further sort of tweaks he's making to the retros that feature on Zest. Not to widen it out too far, but to just bring in some other gems that, you know, we really are keen to be playing. The whole concept of retro Zest, when we play one of these songs, and there are 2-3 an hour generally, it is to give you that experience, that song that you haven't heard for so long, and it's like, oh yes, you know, when it comes on the radio. But at the same time, you know, you mentioned new music there. We do pride ourselves on featuring new music first, and being brave enough to do so. You know, we don't always want to just follow. We want to lead with the music as well. Fortunately, we've got some brilliant relationships with the record labels, so we're able to do that very, very efficiently. And just one final thing on retro,
Sure.
As well as sort of scattering those gems across our daytime output and our general output. And we have a whole hour of retro zest between 9 and 10 a.m. each day. And also on Sunday evening, 7 through to 10 p.m., it's a whole show featuring retro zest. So we're quite heavy on that, but I think for good reason.
Yeah, I think I'll have to skip the skip the first 2 hours and listen to Rich Vibes on Mixcloud, and then come and join the retro hour.
There's always listen again, of course.
There's always listen again. No, you're absolutely right, and that's the beauty again of technology these days, is that you can find a site that replays what you've maybe missed, and you can watch again or listen again. Yeah, really good.
We're on various platforms. I saw some stats come through today, actually, from Zeno Media over in the States. Okay. And I'm amazed how many listeners we have over there. We love you all, of course.
Yes.
Keep listening and bring some more to the party. Why not? Yeah. But then, of course, more generally speaking, we've got a lot. I think we've got over 1,000 dance shows on our Mixcloud channel now. Wow. So it's like an archive of our dance, our Liverpool's dance weekend shows. So, whether we're actually playing those shows live or not doesn't matter. It's another great thing, isn't it? You can still access that when you want to, and of course, I realise that's not just on Zest. Mm-hmm. And I'm not crazy. I know people will listen to other stuff too. Of course they should. Yeah. I do. But how great is this? The choice we've got, it's marvelous. The audio industry is just, it's a really exciting place to be at the moment. I won't even talk about here in the UK small scale DAB. Maybe that's for another session. But there's so many exciting things going on right now.
Well, maybe we get you back in for a second interview, perhaps, and talk more about the DAB platform, because in the UK, it's a growing platform for radio stations to launch on, and B to buy into if they're not already on that particular platform. Because FM I think you'll probably agree, is a dying platform. It may still be around for some years, but they're trying to phase that out and get everybody onto digital, aren't they?
Yeah, and it will happen. I mean, you're right. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but it's been talked about for many years, and that day will come. And we won't go into detail on the DAB thing now. It wouldn't be right to do so. It deserves its own session, and it's kind of you to suggest that we might have that. But I'll whet people's appetites. There are, I think it's 228 new digital multiplex transmission licenses currently in the process of being rolled out for advertisement by Ofcom. And each one of those radio transmitting multiplexes, depending on bandwidth and sound quality and so on, but generally speaking, each one of the 228 has the capacity of something like 25 radio services. So you can imagine that's big news.
It's big news if you're in that particular field of supplying that service. And
it's great news for jobs in the audio business, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. Going back to Zest and my week as cover jock, let's call it that, last week, you'll be glad to let the listener and viewer know that there have been some changes in the programming schedule. Just highlight that for us, will you?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, Paul, you're a great friend, and I was very pleased when you agreed to do some cover work for us across last week. And let's make no secret of it. I think, first of all, I felt a little embarrassed to be telling you how wonderful you sounded, because I felt like you might think I was just being nice. But actually, Paul, you did really fit the station, and you did really come across in exactly the manner that we wanted you to. So, well done for that, and huge thanks for that, because the feedback we got from the listening audience was just massive and positive throughout. And so you see, you're shaking your head as if, again, I'm being nice, but I'm not. Honestly, you were great. And we know what the result of that is. Do you want to share that news?
Well, as of today, 1 p.m. till 4 p.m., I am now the afternoon presenter, afternoon jock, whichever you want to call it, at Zest Liverpool.
Excellent.
So I'm very, very pleased to be able to say that. And with the magic of technology being what it is, Phil, it means I don't have to travel 350 miles to come to a studio and look at all that kind of social distancing aspect, because we're able to do it from our studio bases wherever that might be. So, without giving away the radio secrets, of course, then that's the way a lot of stations have gone recently, haven't they? Particularly because
I'm not sure it is such a secret these days, is it? The major broadcasters are doing this partly through necessity, partly because it is so convenient. We're no different. We have obviously our central hub, and we have lots of locally produced programs.
Yeah.
But equally, you're right. There is no reason why we can't have a great presenter on Team Zest who doesn't happen necessarily to be in the immediate locality. Now, I think one thing I would add to that, and I know it's the case where you're concerned, Paul, you do know our patch extremely well because you've lived within it. And I think it's important that, you're able to reflect what's going on within that patch. And as I said, you've done that recently last week. Very well indeed. And long may it continue. We're glad to have you on board.
Thank you very much. Rich Vibes, who's in Exeter, says, same with my show to Bay Vibes Radio. Bay Vibes Radio is based in Exmouth. I think that's right, Rich. Do tell us if that's correct. And then, Rich is in Exeter, so it's only like an 8-9 mile difference. However, it means he can broadcast his show on Sunday nights live to Mixcloud, but also simulcast it to the community radio station in his area, which is a brilliant thing, I think. Oh, Rich Vibes says Torbay.
It is.
Actually, it's Torbay area.
That the use of the technology in that way lends itself very well to certain genres of audio production. And I think, the way you described that show earlier, I'm sure that, it sounds every bit as good, possibly even better than it would from a radio studio where maybe that presenter was in a slightly less familiar environment. I don't know. We're on new ground here in many ways, aren't we? Because whilst it's becoming more commonplace, it wasn't too long ago when you did have to be in the studio, probably surrounded by cartridge tapes.
Well, you're showing your age and mine, because when I first started in radio back in 1989, I don't know if that's before or after you, but 1989 I got my break into proper radio, as I call it, because before that I was doing hospital radio, which, don't get me wrong, it's a great grounding for a future broadcaster, but of course it's only limited to the people listening on their tiny little headphones in the wards. Okay, so
sure, yeah.
But nowadays, hospital radio stations even have an FM license where they broadcast to the local community, which is great. But yeah, my first venture into real radio was at Orchard FM in Somerset. You'll know the station well.
I do.
Under the operations of David Rogers and Howard Bowles and Phil Easton, God rest his soul. So that was a fantastic opportunity for me, and it was my dream as a kid, as a 14-year-old. Maybe 12 to 14-year-old kid, to be on radio, and that's when it became reality. Was in 1989. So I'm thankful for those times. But going back to that time in my life, it was vinyl, by the way. CDs had only just come out, so we didn't have a vast music library on CD just yet. We had vinyl collection in an office upstairs. It was a huge library, and I was able to choose my own songs. How rare is that? I was able to go upstairs prior to the show, which I was doing the night shift, by the way, 10 p.m. till 1 a.m. And I was able to choose my own vinyl records. A lot of it was album tracks, which was fantastic. Narada Michael Walden, the Eagles. It was a vast array of different genres of music. But my gosh, it was great to be able to choose your own playlist, if you will, your own songs. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is. I guess those were the days when that was the only way that it was done. I remember at my first station, we had and the person concerned did a fabulous job. We actually had a record librarian to sort all our vinyl out.
Wow.
I don't think that's going to come back anytime soon. But I hear what you're saying. It's great to be able to choose music, and I know that different stations will have different policies.
Yeah.
And some of that still goes on. Some of it's maybe half and half. Some of it's fully scheduled. I'm not sure there's a right or a wrong way. I think it's down to those running those individual stations to have the choice to do as they please, and that's the way it should be, isn't it?
Yeah. Rich Vibe says, we all used to do, in inverted commas, radio sets, recording to tape as kids. Never grow up, he says, and he's absolutely right. It was, your bedroom was, two tape decks, if you will. So you were kind of going from one to the other.
I omitted to mention that at about the age of 9,
yeah.
I was making recordings onto a reel-to-reel tape machine and reading out of a home shopping catalogue.
Brilliant.
The brand of that catalogue was Shopper's World. It was kind of a forerunner to Argos. And I was reading out the descriptions of these products, practicing voiceovers.
Yep.
I actually still have one of those recordings, but no, I'm not sending it to you. But the other thing was just as was described there. I had wires running under the edge of the carpet to a speaker in Mum's kitchen.
Wow.
And was sort of plugging in jack plugs into different tape machines to effectively control my first radio station. So yeah, I can identify with that 100%.
Oh, it just brings back so many memories, doesn't it? And I was also one of those lucky people that was given a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and I used to record into that. And
you were lucky. I pinched my dad's.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I used to use my dad's old Dansette record player and play the 7-inch vinyl from it. But yeah, the reel-to-reel tape machine. I remember it well because the microphone it was like a handheld microphone, metal thing, right? But it used to give me a shock every time I put it to my mouth. So I don't know whether there was something wrong with the circuitry or whatever, but it used to give me a mild electric shock. So I will never ever forget that, and it sticks in my memory just until today. So yeah, good times.
Well, it's obviously made you the man you are today, Paul.
Yeah, that and many other experiences through my lifestyle, from my lifetime, let me tell you. Listen, Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much. May Zest Liverpool go from strength to strength. I'm pleased to be a part of it, and full-time now as well, as we say. So Monday to Friday, 1 till 4, British summertime, that is, folks, if you're listening abroad. But you can catch it. Let them know where they can find you, first of all, Phil.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say to our viewer that if you want to check Paul out on air tomorrow our time, 1 p.m. British summertime, as we said, then zestliverpool.com. You will find listen links on zestliverpool.com. We've got links to various apps, but the easiest way really is straight direct zestliverpool.com and click the listen button and do it at 1 o'clock tomorrow and hear Paul Webber on the radio.
Yeah, I've just put it in the comments, but I put CPM instead of COM. So yeah, zestliverpool.com is the website you can find that at. And Phil, thank you so much for coming on stream today. And like I say, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and long may your career in radio continue, and long may Zest continue as well.
Let's all of us keep going and keep learning. Thanks very much for the opportunity, Paul. Enjoyed it.
You're very welcome. All right, well, that's it for tonight's conversation, folks. Thanks to my guest, Phil England from Zest Liverpool. Whit Profit says, very interesting and informative. Thank you very much indeed, Whit Profit. They're dropping a message in. Let me just put that on the screen. There we go. Thank you very much indeed to everybody for watching this evening's live stream. If you are watching the playback, of course, and you have any questions for us, whether it's radio related or whether it's audio production related, then make sure you drop a comment into the comments, and we'll do our best to answer those for you offline, of course. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so, and make sure you click that bell icon as well. That will let you know when I'm going live next, which is normally every Monday night at 8 p.m. British summertime, of course. If you want to check out the website, you can do. It's www.loveaudio.co.uk. And if you want to check out the merchandise site for t-shirts or mugs, then that's at spring.com. Just look for Love Audio's merch store, and you will find that there as well. Okay, that's about it for tonight, folks. Thanks so much for joining me, as I say, and look forward to seeing you next Monday night at 8 p.m. Take care, guys. Look after yourselves.